Again, the Rangers and Astros starting that series Tuesday at the ballpark. Meantime, Carrollton Standard Stadium once again becomes the focus of all things Cowboys as the team holds a mandatory minicamp tomorrow through Wednesday. The spotlight shining brightly on that Cowboy offense. Lots of pressure on that unit with T.O. now gone. Over the past few days, we've caught up with a couple of high-profile former Cowboys at various events, guys who now make a living analyzing the NFL, and they discuss the direction of Jason Garrett's offense.
The blame was spread everywhere last year, and then from the top to the bottom. You know, the players didn't do their job, the coaches didn't get the job done at the same time. But I think Jason Garrett is a guy that's a very smart player. I know I'm a little biased. I had a lot of time with Red Ball back in the day, but I think he's a very smart offensive coordinator. I think he knows where this talent is.
If they stay healthy, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how everybody goes. With Terrell being gone and some of the changes that have been made this year, if the offense comes out and starts firing on all cylinders, immediately people are going to go, oh, see, you know, that guy, you had to get rid of him. Good thing they got rid of him.
Open mic guest tonight is Bryan Broaddus, who is a scout for the Cowboys, Packers, Jags, and Eagles, and brings his NFL knowledge to Galloway and Company on ESPN Radio. Been meaning to get you in for a while. Glad you could make it tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Mini camp starts for the Cowboys tomorrow. Training camp starts 6 weeks from Tuesday in San Antonio. What better time than to dive into some Cowboy issues right now? You heard from Woody and Daryl Johnston talking about this Cowboy offense. All eyes on Roy Williams, Jason Garrett, obviously under a lot of pressure, but any coordinator is. What strikes you maybe specifically about this offense as you've observed the OTAs and get ready to look at minicamp?
Well, the OTAs have been a really good indication for me of how they're going to try and plug people in. And I think it was good to see Felix Jones out there last week running around. I think he's going to have a big focal point in this offense. Been studying the offensive line, how they're doing. This receiving group, though, is going to be really interesting. And, you know, with Sam Hurd being hurt, you know, them not getting all the reps with all the receivers all the time, I think that's hurt Tony Romo a little bit. Even though these are just OTA practices, they still need to have those things, those types of reps with the receivers.
Let's stay on the receiving core. And as a guy who has analyzed, you know, talent, player talent for a living, talk to me about Roy Williams, his abilities as a receiver, his deficiencies, and his capability to come in and truly be a #1 wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, what he's going to bring to this team is he's a size receiver. He's got good speed. Everybody says that he doesn't run well enough. He's a big guy, so route running has always kind of been a problem for him. He's a guy that is a long strider, so he's going to have to work into this offense a little bit. And Jason Garrett's offense is going to require him to do a little bit more cutting, a little bit more across the middle stuff than he's done before at Detroit. But he's a guy that can get vertical, he can make plays down the field, and he is an outstanding red zone player. So they're going to incorporate those types of things. He's a guy that when it's a third down play, you can rely on him to get first downs. He'll make tough catches because he's a big-bodied guy.
You know, Tony Romo's numbers, and I think it's easy to forget this. People start to take for granted his talent, you know, an undrafted free agent, and suddenly
right.
2.5 seasons in, we're taking for granted his talent. But 81 touchdowns, 46 interceptions, 29-17 as a starter. But still, he hasn't won a playoff game. And there's a bunch of talk about the changes he needs to make in his leadership style. Even he has indicated that. Obviously, he has to have some postseason success to get the monkey off his back. But in your mind, what's the biggest challenge for Romo as he tries to clear that hurdle and finally find some success after the regular season?
Well, I think he's going to have to really become more comfortable. I think that of course, there's a lot of pressure on him. There's pressure on him to win games in December. And that's what these Cowboy quarterbacks throughout history have been judged on. Can they win games in December? But I think that he has to become more comfortable with this offense and the players around him. Now you take away Terrell Owens. Like I say, you took away Felix Jones from him. He needs these guys to step up. Of course, he can rely on Jason Witten to make plays, but he's going to need Roy Williams to make plays, Patrick Creighton to make plays, Sam Hurd to make plays. But these guys are going to have to help him be a better quarterback. He can't shoulder this by himself.
Do you think the chemistry issue makes that much of a difference? T.O., as we've said a couple of times already, you know, obviously everybody knows he's gone. Pac-Man's gone. Tank's gone. Does the psyche of this team change, or did it need to change? Do wins take care of all of that regardless of what the so-called chemistry is in the locker room?
Well, I think that it needed to change. I think the removal of Terrell Owens off this team, they talk about it helping Tony. I think it helps Jason Garrett more. I think Jason Garrett's a guy now that can take his offense, put the players in the position to make plays. He doesn't have to worry about somebody questioning what he's doing with the offense. I think he's got a group of players on this team now that will be willing to do whatever it takes for them to be successful.
A few seconds left in this segment, and I wish we had more time because wanted to ask you about what is really your specialty, and that is, the draft. The Cowboys had, not exactly a scintillating draft weekend because they didn't have a first-round pick. They took the kid from Western Illinois who they're going to move to inside linebacker, a couple of pass rushers, some help they hope in the secondary. They even drafted a kicker, McGee, the quarterback from A&M. Which of these Cowboy draft picks do you think can make the biggest impact right away?
Well, Mike, I think that the Cowboys, you talk about the draft, I think really free agency before that will have more impact on this team than the draft. I think the Oshansky defensive end, I think the fact that they've added General Sensabaugh, the safety, I think helps them a lot. So I'm looking more at what free agency did more so than this draft. I think that's the thing that allowed them to take the players that they've currently taken so they can plug them into those backup positions or in the special teams positions. But I think that they really helped themselves by adding Gerald Sensabaugh as safety. It's a position I've been screaming on the radio all year long that they need to fix. It looks like they have.
Polite way of you saying the draft was a bust. Bryan Broaddus, thanks. We're back with some quick hits coming up in just a moment. We'll talk about the high-profile graduate at UCLA this